Yes, my name's Andrew Heddle. I run e-commerce for VML, one of our agencies. I run out of Kansas City in the States, although I'm originally from Canterbury in Kent, just a few miles south of here. I came to live in the US 10 years ago when I was involved in a joint venture between Carphone Warehouse and Best Buy. I ran some e-commerce businesses for Carphone, got involved in a business called Best Buy Mobile, and ended up staying. And as a result, I got a ringside seat on 10 years of horror and terror facing Amazon, and also a little bit of a ringside seat on how to address it and handle it. I was asked today, how quickly did we respond to the threat? And my answer to that is very, very slowly, and then very, very quickly. And I think that's the lesson for most people is you start slow, but then all of a sudden it becomes really, really quite important. What I'm going to do today is just give you 5 lessons that I think are pertinent to retailers and brands from that experience of 10 years at Best Buy. Very quickly, the situation in 2012, when Best Buy made a $1.7 billion loss at the end of its year, and essentially was considered to be going out of business. Essentially, Amazon was considered to be the existential threat. Amazon was going to put them away. Best Buy fired its CEO, got in a new CEO. The new CEO didn't have retail experience. Specifically, the analysts on Wall Street thought that was another disastrous decision to go on top of just a very bad business model. And the conclusion was that Best Buy was going to go out of business. And that's where we were in 2012. Fast forward to today, and Best Buy is still in business. Amazon has grown 4 times in market cap since that time, and it's doubled its revenue. Best Buy's market cap has grown about 3 times, although it hasn't really grown its revenue. Its revenue's grown about 2 or 3% during that period, which is why I say it's a successful rebuttal, because it is a rebuttal, and there's lessons in that. The Best Buy this year is going to basically comp at about 4%, which is a pretty fair retail comp. And has really come up with some good stuff around its own business model and how to succeed. So there are 5 lessons. I'm going to run through them with some examples. The first is you've got to get real. The second thing is you've got to rethink what an asset is in your business. The third is you have to remodel the business. The fourth is you've really got to get clear on who the customer is. And the fifth is you have to start partnering and creating a value delivery platform for your partners. So in terms of getting real, so you really have to know what you're dealing with, and events like today are really part of getting real. The information that we get at events like today and the ones that we've seen accelerating over the last year are helpful in just clarifying exactly what you're dealing with and what the opportunities are, and you have to know, and I'm kind of referencing what you were saying earlier on. Brad Stone's book was published in 2014. Every single person who worked at Best Buy's head office was given that for Christmas that year, every single one. So that was about 4,500 copies, and it was required reading, so that we actually understood what the reality of that business was, because people understood it as a customer, but they didn't understand it as a business threat. The other thing you have to do, we called this running in the direction of trouble. I should have highlighted that. So essentially the metaphor we had was a fireman runs in the direction of trouble. When there's a crisis, you don't run away from trouble, you run in the direction of trouble. And so we had to identify and isolate what is the trouble, and then run in its direction. And for Best Buy, one of the big threats was considered to be showrooming. So people coming into the store, price comparing on Amazon, buying online and walking out, just using us as a showroom. We went straight to, with our new CEO, went straight to just price matching Amazon. Believe it or not, prior to that, we hadn't price matched Amazon because Amazon was not a physical retailer. And our price match policy always had a geographic boundary around it. It said you would only price match a store within 5 miles of you. Well, it turns out Amazon's actually within 5 feet of you, but we weren't price matching them. So we moved very quickly to price matching Amazon. We also had to work out what we were going to still compete on, and also where we were going to basically seed. And we chose appliances, and somewhat fortunate in that Sears decided to get out of the appliance business at the same time, so it created something of a market opportunity for us. Also fortunate that big partners of ours, LG and Samsung, really got very heavily into that business at the same time. So we had some luck on our side, but it really was a good category for us to drive hard at. What was less of a great category was things like accessories for mobile phones. Even those are very high margin products. Best Buy could only ever really assort 2,000, 3,000, in their online assortment, maybe about 100 facings in store. You were never really that competitive. So we actually decided to cede some of that to Best Buy. Went up market with our mobile phone cases, so price points north of $15 instead of like the $3 stuff you get on Amazon. And just accept that you're not going to win every single battle and choose the ones that you are going to win. And I think that's an important lesson. When it comes to reappraising our assets, so this is a store plan drawn out by our CEO when he came into the job. He worked in store for a week. And he went around the store that he was in. He drew out the floor plan. This is 2012. And he identified this 19% area right in the middle of the store. So this prime area in the middle of the store. And that's music. Okay, in 2012, Best Buy was still devoting nearly a fifth of its store floor space to music, when the idea of a music retailer had ceased to really exist as an idea. But we, just hadn't gone and made that change and addressed that because music always occupied that space. When I first came to Best Buy, we were the number 3 music retailer in America, and the big day was Tuesday. That was when all the new releases came out. New Release Tuesday drove all the traffic in store. Everyone came in, bought a CD, bought a DVD, and then they looked at the other stuff and came back at the weekend and bought it. That was really the whole model. Well, that just went away completely, and we were still devoting all of the space to it. So we completely, cut that down, put in the appliances and put in other things, and just reconfigured the asset entirely on the basis of what the reality was. It seems dumb now that it ever got to that, but I think one of the things we don't necessarily do in business is we don't go and edit old decisions, and we sometimes just pile on top. So we had to go and edit that old decision. The other thing that was considered to be a real drag on Best Buy was its retail footprint. But in fact, when we did the ROIC analysis on our four-wall profitability, only 64 of our 1,000 or so stores were really negative, and the rest were actually somewhat fundamentally profitable. So you wouldn't necessarily go and close them. But something we did do was turn them all into shipping hubs. So now if you go onto bestbuy.com, and place an order, most of those orders, or 40% of those orders rather, are going to come out of a store. That means that you can put far more of your assortment in store, far more inventory just goes straight to store. And we can also get to customers that much more quickly. And as this analysis shows here from MarketWatch, actually Best Buy got better at shipping than Amazon for the products that it sold, to get them to a customer faster and less and inexpensively. That didn't cost very much. That was about $20,000 a store, so that's about a $20 million project. But against an e-commerce business, it's a $5 billion e-commerce business. It's a very, very inconsequential investment that we made. But very, very important to see stores as more than just stores, and I think this is becoming, somewhat the norm. The other thing that we did was look at our Geek Squad agents. Geek Squad is a business that Best Buy has that basically provides tech support. We used to recruit entirely differently between Geek Squad and Best Buy employees. So Geek Squad were never expected to sell, they were just expected to give tech support. But actually what customers really want when they get tech support is good advice about not only break fix, but also what should they be buying. Because the replacement cycle on products is so much quicker nowadays. We realized that, evaluated it, and turned these agents into a sales force as well as a break fix, because break fix has somewhat died as a model. And you want to have that authoritative sales voice that Geek Squad can offer. So some pretty fundamental changes to the way we looked at the business. Got it. Remodel. So there are no interesting slides here. You can't make saving $1 billion look fun or interesting. But you have to remodel your business, and you have to be able to live in a low margin environment. So we completely remodeled the business, took $1 billion in cost out, which is basically the profit Best Buy makes today. So if we hadn't done that, we wouldn't have made any money. And then get used to the fact that you're going to live in a low margin environment, because it is a low margin environment now, progressively. We were fortunate because a lot of our products were low margin, but we definitely got used to living on less. Right, you have to speak to someone, not anyone. So this is getting clear on who the customer is. When I first arrived at Best Buy, we had no fewer than 8 different customer segmentations. We had this whole project called customer centricity, and you had to identify which one of the 8 the customer was and then talk their language. We ended up actually on one, which is a customer that we identified as the high-touch tech fan. Okay? The high-touch tech fan is not defined by demographic, they're not defined by education, they're not defined by their wealth, they're defined by their interest in technology, because these people will spend a lot of money on technology. And so the defining characteristics of them were that they love technology, they love to show it off to other people, they're always looking for the latest tech, and they want high-touch service across the board. So we got really focused on their attitudes to the product rather than necessarily some of those other factors. That then makes merchandising decisions that much more easy, because you know who you're merchandising for. It makes floor space decisions easy. It makes everything else easier. As marketers, that's a really simple and obvious point, but a lot of businesses, again, don't edit over time. And the beauty of having an existential crisis is that you will edit. And that's what we did very, very firmly. This customer group also has another benefit. They have the loudest echo and the loudest halo. So they only really equated to about 18% of our overall customers. But by really focusing in on them with all of our communications, you're able to have them echo it down through their experiences, but also there's kind of a halo around these customers in the attitude that other customers have towards that, their response towards the fact that that customer group knows what they're talking about. We also got a distinct drop in traffic, as everyone has in the retail, as a result of the growth of Amazon and others. That gives you more time to talk to customers when they're in store. It's particularly useful for this particular type of customer. So whilst our traffic is down about 50%, our being Best Buy's is down about 50% from where it was in 2010, sales are actually up and conversion rates are astronomically up because of the extra time that you have to deal with customers. And the final thing is create a value delivery platform. This is a McKinsey staff paper from June 1988. It's got some hilarious examples of businesses in it. But the reason I included it is Best Buy really took the attitude of thinking, well, we're not in this alone. We have to create a value delivery platform for our partners, and we really have to get partners on board. Get them on board with training, get them on board with taking out space, get them on board with every aspect of the supply chain, get them delivering direct to stores rather than to cross stocks and all those other things that you do to take waste out of the supply chain. And so essentially the quote here from there is often the difference in winning strategy is not the choice of the value proposition, but the thoroughness, single-mindedness and innovation with which it's communicated, and I really got onto that. And then we work with partners to deliver that. And you can see that one of the partners that gets a lot of space in Best Buy now is Amazon for the Alexa. We had the whole argument about, do we carry the Kindle or not? Do we carry Amazon products or not? We decided that we would, even though it clearly provides a risk to the business. But on the basis that our customer would expect them to be there. Partner with Google very heavily as well, both at training, both supply chain, absolutely everything that you would have to build a business. Samsung, Sony, the people you would expect, Apple and Microsoft. Best Buy has essentially reconfigured its stores instead of being just pilot high and sell it cheap, to really being a brand showcase with the brands themselves making a huge contribution to how the business is run and developed. So, just to repeat then, those are really the 5 lessons. Is you've got to get real, you've got to run in the direction of trouble, you've got to reappraise your assets and act accordingly. You have to accept you're going to be a low margin player. You have to speak to someone, not anyone, and find who that person is and base it on their behaviors. And then you have to create a value delivery platform for partners that enables the partners to come on the journey with you and buy in and actually have a skin in the game of your success.
Brilliant, Paddy. Thank you very much indeed.